I've taken the decision to appoint the current Minister for the Western Region, the Honorable Dr. Kwaku Afriyie, MP for Sefirioso, as caretaker Minister for Western North Region until a substantive appointment is made. Sefirioso has also been chosen as the capital of the new region. Already, government has allocated this year an amount of 20 million cedis as seed capital for the development of Oti region. Again, I have taken the decision that Dr. Archibald Letcher, Oti Letcher the first.
In the budget read in November, the President got Finance Minister to announce a 20 million Ghana seed capital for all each of the 6 proposed regions. So that is there. I've just told your colleague that Mr. President too, on 4th of January, immediately after the referendum, committed form an interministerial committee to immediately come out with immediate developmental plans, immediate to short term. Already my minister has prepared some medium to long term, short medium term, but he wanted an immediate one. In addition to this 20 million Ghana cedis, again, as Mr. President said, development is going to spread. You're not going to have a situation as we have now, that in the regional capital is where the regional hospital should necessarily be. It's where the polytechnic or university should always be in the regional capital. That one is not going to be. It's a decision, that a policy that a government makes. So if you say how do you expect, it's because there's going to be a policy to that effect.
We have both police and military presence on the ground, and we are trying to control the situation. The disturbances have stopped. As you rightly put it, we've been able to arrest 7 persons who we have brought to Tamale to assist in investigations. And we are also moving on the names that we have to pick those to also assist in our investigations. We pick them based on intelligence that they were part of those who perpetrated the act. But we need to subject that particular intelligence to further proof to be able to establish whether or not they were involved. And it is after that proof or further investigations when we will be able to ascertain firmly that they are involved or they are not involved. We have videos, but we don't know the one in your possession. But we are assuring that we will try as much as possible to trace and arrest all those who have been cited in the video. But we need to understand that it is not everybody who appeared in the video who was involved. And there are many more who didn't appear in the video but are also involved. And we are mindful of all that.
Right, so we talk about the regions, but I can make you this promise that I'll read a couple more of your messages on the first issue, because there are a lot of them that you have brought in. It's only fair that we try to read just a couple more. But before that, on Ghana Connect, on Joy, yesterday in the evening, they put up a post on the question of security. And I want you to take note of something. They asked the question, do you trust the national security apparatus to keep you safe after listening to Ghana's security chiefs at the Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election commission of inquiry? Guess what? 27% said yes, they trust them to do a good job for them. 73% said no, they don't trust the security to keep them safe. So for those of you who are, sending in comments and suggesting that my guests, as those who did last week, are blowing things out of proportion and over-exaggerating, you may want to know how generally, averagely, Ghanaians are thinking about this. And let's all, put our heads together and deal with this, rather than say, okay, and for those of you saying I'm too quick to believe in what President Mahama put out, I believe that this is not an issue that we should play I am neutral here or neutral there. When the tax, the invisible forces and so on were driving out party people from the party offices elected, they were driving them out from the party offices. We sat back and watched. Now the same people are hounding us. Why do we have to complain now? So let's do it right at the right time. Now, on the regions and the capitals that are bringing problems, Kofi, I've heard you suggest that, and I thought that suggestion is too much to expect of the process, that the way to have dealt with this was to have had the people vote on which place should be the capital when they were conducting the referendum. I don't know what exactly you're trying to get at. That's too much to ask, right?
I was just trying to make a point about the issue. And the first point I wanted to make about that issue, sometimes you put a lot of things in just one small statement. The point is this: people don't care about regions. They care about where the capital is put. And a lot of the agitations around the regions, whether to go or not to go, is about whether the capital will come to me or not. So I was just making a point that when you create regions and you leave it there, okay, and you haven't dealt with the issue of the capitals, you are going to get the things, you are going to get. In any case, the law says the president should make those choices. So it is his choice to make, and nobody can say anything about it. But I was making the point. But why don't you then do this? Okay, the bigger issue, however, is the propriety of all of this. And we've had that argument, and we are saying,
in your analysis, the choice of the capital is more important than the creation.
Exactly.
How is that?
That is what is important to the people. And you see the emotions around that. And from the beginning, when the regions were announced, the agitations, where years ago, people started immediately at that point talking about regions, capitals, and where it was going and why it's not coming to them and how they are going to be shifted around and being put under this person or that person. We're involved in some of those discussions. I am saying you need to have a certain hand on the pulse of the nation as far as these things are concerned, and to foresee them. And the least you can do is to try and prevent the eruptions that will come up. Clearly, if you are going to do this and it's going to cause things like what happened in Salaga, make some provision against that. Okay, so look, it's the president's prerogative. He chose to do it. He clearly places a lot of value on this. I doubt what the value of this is as far as his legacy is concerned. Ghana used to be 4 regions. Do you remember who made it 10? But we remember who built Adomi Bridge. President Mahama will be remembered for Circle, removing the traffic.
You disagree with Damboche?
I disagree with Damboche. He has his view. He has his view that this is going to be a great historical fact and whatever. I said, do you remember who made Ghana from 4 to whatever number of regions? It's about developing. It's about things that you do to change or make my life better. All right? So look, it's been a number of years. I worry about the legacy of NPP as far as infrastructural development, delivering real life-enhancing change to people will be. Regions, it may mean something to some people, but go down in
2 years. Why are you worried about infrastructure?
Oh, I just worry.
It takes time.
It takes time. I worry. So I'm urging them that please, if you want to be remembered, okay, we can say all kinds of things about all kinds of things. But I say, I remember the one who built Adomi Bridge. I don't remember the person who changed Ghana from 4 regions to the next number of regions. And what we are going to get is a new set of ministers, a new set of deputy ministers.
The creation of the regions has been a need that was unanimously agreed upon. Both political traditions made a commitment to the creation. It is that the NPP has the opportunity of being in government now. And they say, we will do what has been pending over the years, decades.
It's been a number of years that whole thing has been discussed. Mostly is the political class that raised an issue, made it an issue, went around and canvassed it, and then they told us that, oh, it's the people who want it. All right? And I'm not mincing words here, both NDC and MPP. I don't remember the agitation for. There were little pockets, all kinds of things, because we are an artificial.
I thought they were mainly led by chiefs.
Oh, well, you see, who told you that? Who told you that? Okay, the campaign for this thing, it's the 2 political parties that kept making this case.
Okay.
All right. So, well, MPP got the opportunity to effect it, and for that they'll get some kind of political capital. They deserve it and they should take it. We are looking for, or I am looking for things that really bring change. People say having a new region is going to create development. Well, I doubt it. It will bring some change. Yes, you have a new regional minister. He's going to run a V8 around town. All right, there will be a new deputy minister and all. I doubt if that change will come. Look, drop in Kitikrachi or wherever and ask the ordinary person. Okay, but if you made a road there, it will affect ordinary life. So what I'm saying may not be popular. I know they will not like it, but I'm saying it's your prerogative. You've done it. Okay, my worry is that you prevent the things that happen in Salaga from happening.
Okay.
Okay.
But so far, the president is appointing, as it were, caretaker sort of ministers. Do you think he's afraid because he's supposed to have 12 new ministers to come out to the 111 or so far?
As for afraid, I don't use the word afraid. This president has been very determined to do this, regardless of whatever criticism. So I think he's going to go ahead. But he is conscious of the fact.
You think eventually we'll have substantive ministers for all these regions and their deputies?
I honestly doubt it, because I think the president is conscious of the fact that his government is the largest in the history of Ghana. And 2 years down the line, people are questioning whether we are getting value for our money.
A history that may never be repeated, some say. Yes, Doc, this is your area. What's been your reading so far? You know, the president is getting a lot of applause for what he has been able to do boldly, you know, and he brought in a minister specific to execute that, you know, job. So that minister appears to be out of use now, because we may not have use for that minister anymore.
Well, I think we would have use for that minister, because if the name of the ministry is anything to go by, it's regional reorganization and development. So maybe if they finish with the reorganization, I would expect them to continue with the development process.
200 million.
But maybe the applause is coming from
20 million.
Maybe the applause is coming from the fact that they put it in their manifesto and they are delivering on it. That is where the applause may be coming from. On the issue of the regional capitals, I think that what they should have done was to have committed the petitioners at the point of petitioning.
Okay.
That, look, you want a region, but if we give you the region, we commit to you that the regional capital is going to be here. Okay. Because at that point, they were united.
All right.
And I'm also aware that some of the petitioners really indicated where they want the regional capitals to go. Except that other factors also came into play. And in all these things, I'm sure they negotiated with them. And like Kofi said, they knew, some of them, they knew that, well, if it goes here, these people would complain, these people would do all of that. So they should have put the necessary things on the ground. But my worry is the constitutional gap or the legal lacuna, where we don't have any legal framework that would guide us by bringing out the various criteria or indicators that should be taken into consideration in determining a regional capital. At the moment, it is loose. You leave it to the president to determine where it should go. Whereas when it comes to the creation of the region proper, the law is clear on what we need to do. I am of the view that going forward, let us come up with a framework that will guide us that if you want to cite a regional capital out of a new region, these are the factors you should take into consideration.
Or let the people vote for
let
that.
the people vote for
Want to live in a country where there is no room at all for discretion, even for the president?
No.
Then why do we choose them? Why do we choose the leaders?
There should be a room for discretion, but guided discretion. I'm calling for guided discretion where everybody would be happy.
Now look at it this way. If Dambai were not chosen, there would be complaints. If Salga was not chosen, if Salga was chosen, there would be complaints. So everybody would have complained anyway.
But Samson, if we were to have,
what's the big
if we
deal?
were to have
Use my style. Let
clear
them vote for
cut
it.
indicators documented, and then we'll do the mapping, and then we explain to the people that these are the indicators. Salaga, Dambai, Kitikrachi, Jasikai. It was Dambai that met the indicator, so we've given it to them. It is fair, objective, nobody would complain. So the bit of our law that leaves that one loose is part of the problem.
Why do you say there's a lacuna? Why don't we use what exists for determining the district capitals? Because those are there by law, the things that are looked at to determine a district capital.
We do not have it in law. There is no law.
Okay.
The LI prescribes or indicates where the district capital should be. But the factors that should be taken into consideration is not clearly specified. What I'm calling for is a legal framework or a policy framework document that specifies the factors that should be taken into consideration in determining a regional capital.
Don't you see it is the same factors that are used to determine a regional capital?
And that is not, well, which factor? They're for the districts?
Yes.
We do not have documented factors. We have factors for the creation of a district. But as to where the capital should be, it's at the discretion of either the president or the minister.
No, there are factors. I can't immediately,
so give them the factor.
Point to that, but
whatever
there are
factors there are, those factors should be objective factors. That
There are
help
factors including centrality, including, access.
No, you see, something
by the various other communities. How easy it can be accessed.
I can understand where you are coming from.
Yeah.
These factors were indicated in the Commission of Inquiry's report, but they are not standard, nationally accepted standards. We have the centrality rule where wherever you are coming from the region, you should not travel more than 100 kilometers to be able to access a service from the regional capital.
Right.
Two, we also have the economic factors where we should have enough land space to allow people or other organizations to have opportunity to build their regional offices there. We should also have the traditional boundaries and administrative boundaries, because if you create a region, that region will need a regional house of chiefs. And you may not want the overlord or the traditional head there to travel to another place to attend a regional House of Chiefs meeting. So you may want to situate it in the area or in a place where you have the overlord there. And then also where the petitioners also indicated or proposed in their initial petition. All these factors come into play, and they are there. But what I'm saying is that let us document these factors.
All right. Okay. Yes, Angela, what do you say really? Because it does appear, I seem to have a bit of a hesitation about, suggesting as though exercise of discretion is wrong. So that we should legislate over every minute thing that's, about our life.
Well, there's a saying, uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. And I think our constitution has also added to this problem, in terms of the heavy weight given to the executive, and the kind of power that has been given them. It also means that the president must use a lot of discretion and also consultation and good judgment and all of those things. We can't legislate everything, but admittedly it's easier if you have a guide.
Well,
if you have
Article 297 says you yourself put out some sort of
process for doing it. It makes it easier for you and for your successors, and for even a buy-in of the general society. It makes it easier for people to understand why you arrived at this decision. For example, if you talk about Nolly Prosequi now, we are saying that yes, say something so people understand why you did what you did. So it's a good thing, I think. But I think also that our development language is problematic because it's so heavily focused on infrastructure. And when we say infrastructure, it means physical infrastructure. And that's part of the reason why people fight for getting this bit of space in our space, because immediately we'll see a building come up that's supposed to be the regional capital, the administrative building, we'll see more offices, we'll see more roads being done and so on and so forth. If we understood that development is beyond physical infrastructure, it would really help in some of these agitations. But that also comes with the level of education of our people. The better educated we become, the better we understand that development is not just about seeing the physical infrastructure. There's soft development, there's human development, even though physical infrastructure is important. So I think we should be thinking about our development. That's the same way in which our MPs, our honorable MPs, go on campaign platforms and push that I'm going to make you a road. I'm going to make you an airport. And things like that. I mean, it's like a boy wooing a new girlfriend and saying, I'll buy you state transport. Things like that. And I think it's all made people, become very intense at asking for things that they may not have and would go and fight for it. You can't make two capitals in any place, and therefore people need to understand that one will be chosen after the other. Even if we have objective criteria, you still might not have what you emotionally would wish for. We need to start understanding that. But on another more serious note, you see, it's the president and the MPP government. They've come into this. It's time, it's an opportune time for them to set up these regions, make sure now, small Ghana, we have 16 regions. Fine. I think, I agree with Kofi and the others, that the development focus is what we need. And that's why, for me, the creation of the regions is not as important as what is going to happen in September 2019. That is the referendum around Article 55.3. That is the space to watch, because when we come into that space and we are going to elect the DCEs, the MMDAs and so on, we are going to see a more devolved system. Okay, you have political parties of different kinds vying for positions, and therefore people will now begin to see that, look, if we didn't win at the national level, there is an opportunity for us to share power at this level. And there is an obligation on the government to devolve more resources and to work out ways in which they will work with all of these political groupings on the ground, just because of what is going to happen with Article 55.3. I don't think we've thought through it as much. Yeah. And so we shouldn't make the making of the regions such a huge thing, even though it's an important thing. Yes, what's going to happen when that referendum happens? That is what is most important.
Regions are not developmental units.
Exactly.
It is the district.
It is the district.
That's where the action regions coordinate.
They coordinate
what they do.
But the resources are directed by law to the district.
But the problem is that if you have a big region,
yes,
and the regional coordinating council is not able to do proper coordination, you can send funds there, they will misuse it.
Yes.
So you need manageable districts for a region to manage. So in a year, they can undertake 4 coordinations.
But the election, the 55.3 elections will cure this.
No, the 55.3 is not election. The 55.3
is a referendum.
It's amending the constitution.
Yes.
So that we elect DCs.
Exactly.
No, not to elect DCs. It's amending the constitution to allow political parties to take part in the local level elections. It's not electing leaders.
Not DC.
Oh, no, that is the thing. The 55.3 is amending the constitution to allow political parties to participate in local level elections.
Yes, and what is the impact of that?
In 2021, then DCEs can be elected.
Yes, but that's where we are going.
That's
And that's
the
why I'm
election of
saying that the
DCEs.
space to watch is Article 55.3.
That's where it is.
Because if that happens, then the issues we have about winner takes all, the issues that we have about devolution are going to fundamentally change. And because of that, I think we should de-emphasize the making of new regions to look at that place where we are actually reaching out for proper devolution and proper development.
Right. Now, Sulemana, the question I ask also, because, for example, when you are doing the district creations, as I sought to bring Dr. Dosai on it, because that is one area that you can, challenge his expertise. The law provides for the Electoral Commission to do the creation of the boundaries and to make a recommendation to the president as places that are fit and proper to be made districts. There are qualifying factors for that, including the numbers, the population, and so on and so forth. Now, these appear to be binding on the president. But when it comes to choosing the district capital, you could find that there will be 1, 2, or 3 that have all the qualifying factors to become a capital. But those qualifying factors are not legal. Are not legal. Now, on that basis, somebody must exercise a discretion. So I believe that in the region situation, a similar situation may apply, where the capitals are being named. You can have more than one which have all the qualifying criteria to make them regional capitals. If the president chooses, why can't we be okay with it and live our lives?
Well, Samson, I think that the issue around the creation of the regions, we can look at one, this whole controversy around the siting of the capitals, and the fact that the president has the discretionary power. And I think that those of you who are lawyers would always say that where the law imposes on you, or where you have the opportunity to exercise discretion, the expectation is also that you will be fair, you would be prudent, and you'll be candid. And so on that basis, perhaps what we need to now look at is these places that have been identified or chosen or selected as the regional capitals on the basis of the president's discretionary powers. What do we think about them? So we can't interrogate whether we think they were, the right places, the appropriate places, or not. Now, but before I'll touch on that, but before then, I think the fundamental question has been whether it was useful to even create these regions. And I would say the only fundamental reason that has, convinced me has been the fact about access to certain bureaucratic services. So, for example, a teacher in, let's say, Akontomra, having to go to the regional capital to rectify something relating to his payment, so he has to go to the controller's office or see the regional director and so on. Previously would have found it quite easy if he were to go to Kumasi than to go to Takrady from Sefwi Akontomra. And in this case now, it will be from Sefwi Akontomra to Sefwi also, which makes it quite easy, quite convenient, and so on and so forth. And on that basis, I think that it is fine. But beyond that, the problem is the impression that is being created by the government that creating a region means that we are bringing development. And the fundamental question I ask is that, is it the case that we could have developed certain areas and left them undeveloped only because they were not regions? So, for example, if the connecting roads within the northeast region now are so bad, is it the case that we left them to be so bad because that place was not a region? I've heard Dan Botwe talk about, we will make sure that certain facilities will be put in different towns. So regional hospital would be sited here, regional that will be sited there. And I think that regional hospital is just a name. What matters is the facilities in the medical facility. So if you go and put up, let's say, something to the equivalent of Ridge Hospital in Boku, and you don't call it a regional hospital, it doesn't mean anything. It is about the quality of services that the people would have. In other words, in fact, you could make Boku or the Boku area a region today and basically name the Boku Hospital Regional Hospital. You haven't done anything. You haven't changed anything. And I think it is that which also led to people maybe agitating and in some cases doing what happened in Salaga, which is that the government failed to do the management expectation or managing the expectations of people. And for now, people are expecting that we have a region and we are waiting for development. The 20 million cedis that we are being told is seed money. It's not money coming from anywhere. It's money that would have been part of the kitty and is being taken out to another area. So basically, it is just the same resources that are being reallocated. And it is important that the government begins to manage the expectations of the people so that people in Damango would not be thinking that, now we are done. Now that we have a region, everything is coming. People in Nalerigu will not think that, look, now that we have a regional capital, we are done. Employment of our youth, the employment problems among our youth is solved. Our roads issues are solved. Our water crisis, we don't have any problem, and so on and so forth. Now, basically, briefly on the capitals. Perhaps personally, the only one that I have an issue with is Techiman. Yes, Techiman is big and is perhaps the economic capital of the Brong-Ahafo region and so on and so forth. But as I said before, the only thing that convinced me was access to bureaucratic services. And if you look at it from that perspective, I doubt how Techiman solves or cures that problem in terms of the Bono East region. Now, apart from that, if you take Damango, is the traditional capital, and as Dr. Drew Osai mentioned, you may not want to have the overlord traveling from the traditional capital to another place. And of course, Damango, we know, is a traditional town, traditionally the capital of the Gonja area. And the northeast certainly is almost like a Gonja region, even though you have other tribes and ethnic groups who are there. If you take the, no, I'm talking about Savannah. If you take northeast now, it's literally the Mamprugu area, becoming a region. And the overlord sits at Nalerigu, so in that case, it's fine. If you take the Oti region, I had always said, look, it must be Dambai because of that, the centrality where Dambai is located. But of course, people have a problem by saying that, look, Dambai used to be under Ketikrachi. It used to be, a town under the old Ketikrachi, district. And therefore, Ketikrachi ought to have been it. But if you were to go to Ketikrachi as a regional capital, what it means is that you have almost everyone crossing, the lake with all the complications to go to Ketikrachi. I know the people of Ketikrachi were really desperate and really fought for it. The other one is Western North. I've mentioned that already, Sehuwi also. I think that there was no problem about that. And then the Ahafo region, we all knew that if it was to be fair and appropriate, it ought to be Goso. And Goso it is. So on this basis, I think that the president had the discretionary power. And on the basis of all these factors, you would say that responsibility to be fair and candid, in the exercise of the discretionary power, I would say is something that has been fulfilled.
You see, I don't agree with the president's discretion, but so you are saying it is about access to bureaucratic services. I pray that happens. How well do our ministries, departments, and agencies work in Accra? All right. So for me, that is where it is. If this actually happens, it will at least give a certain sense that we achieved something. All right. It's not about putting buildings there, okay? Because I have seen buildings that have been put up and they cracked, and nobody's using them, and nobody's paying. And these are real issues. We shouldn't rush too much. We should make sure that we have durable development, even if it's slow. But this central point that we will reap some tangible benefit from this should be the next thing that those who did this should go for. Otherwise, there'll be extreme disappointment. When you talk about managing expectations, I think they have been managed high instead of being managed low. Yeah, because you hear everybody go around and say, because of this, you are going to get development. It tends to have a problem.
Because of the stress on fiscal infrastructure.
You see? So I hope that there will be a certain activity that will really bring some benefit to ordinary people. If the guy there can go and get a birth certificate, if the guy in Dambai can go there and get a passport or get a driver's license, these things mean a lot. There are people in Accra who don't have an ID. Okay, so for me, this is how you express development if you are going to create regions.
Okay. All right. We should pause here, take a break, and return to check whether your confidence in finding and rescuing the Takoradi girls is still intact. This is something Kofi Bento has been campaigning for a while. We'll be right back.